Good morning, I'm Angelo Castro III.
I'm Angela, and we are the Castros.
We bring you the news.
And the views that make you think.
Sometimes we agree.
Sometimes we don't.
This is News and Views.
And here are today's headlines.
Travelers are heading back to Metro Manila after celebrating Christmas and New Year in the provinces.
The number of firecracker-related injuries climbs to over 230 following New Year revelries.
E-bikes and e-trikes are now prohibited along major thoroughfares in Metro Manila.
Preparations are now in full swing for the 2026 Jesus Nazareno Fiesta, with road closures and designated routes set for devotees joining the procession.
The Department of Health reports 235 fireworks-related injuries from December 21 to January 1. The DOH noted that this is 42% lower than the cases logged during the same period last year. Most of the victims are minors with injuries linked to unidentified fireworks and improvised devices. The DOH warns that more cases may still be reported in the coming days and urges the public to seek immediate medical help.
Over 20 people were injured after a grenade exploded during New Year celebrations in Barangay Dalapitan, Matalam, Cotabato. Here's the report.
Granada? Oo, meron ka dito!
A powerful explosion disrupted what was supposed to be a joyful New Year celebration in Barangay Dalapitan, Matalam, Cotabato. 22 people were injured in the blast, including 9 minors, while nearby establishments sustained damage from the force of the explosion. Police said the attack was carried out by riding in tandem suspects who fled the scene on a motorcycle without a license plate. Authorities added that the suspects have already been identified and are allegedly part of a local illegal drug syndicate.
Actually, inline yun sa aming pinalakas na anti-illegal drugs operation kasi sa mga suspect yan is involved sa illegal drugs. So we have a series of anti-illegal drugs na at napiktuhan yung kanilang gagawa sila ng mga possible na mga senaryo to divert yung aming attention.
The explosive used was an MK2 hand grenade. News 5 spoke to one of the victims who sustained shrapnel injuries to his hand.
Papasok na sana ako para kumuha ng motor nung biglang may sumabog na granada. Tumakbo agad ako at nataranta.
Some victims have already been discharged from the hospital, while others remain under treatment. A manhunt is ongoing as police maintained heightened security in the area to prevent further incidents.
Some passengers are making their way back to Metro Manila after celebrating Christmas and New Year in the provinces. For the latest at bus terminals in Cubao, we have mobile journalist Amy Atienza. Amy, what's the situation like there?
Angela, Diego, good morning, and Happy New Year. At dito nga sa Cubao Bus Terminal, puno pa rin yung mga tao, hindi lang yung mga galing ng probinsya papunta dito sa Quezon City, kundi pati na rin yung uuwi naman ng provinces nila mula dito sa Manila. At ito yung current situation dito, marami-rami yung naka-standby pa dun sa mga book nila biyahe. Ito ay mga papunta ng Bicol, Quezon at pati na rin Sorsogon, pati Camarines Sur at Camarines Norte. So far yung mga pauwi naman daw kasi ng province, hindi naman siya ganun pa ka-fully booked dahil ang punuan nga yung mga uuwi mismo dito sa, yung mga uuwi pabalik dito sa Manila. So tuloy-tuloy pa rin naman ang operasyon nila. Meron lang daw mga bus na may delay sa pag-alis dahil yung interval nila is every 1 hour umaalis talaga. Pero ang rason din ng mga bus terminal dyan, kailangan daw talaga i-check yung maintenance para sa safety and security ng mga babiyahe, lalo na dahil mahaba-haba yung magiging biyahe for the next few days. Angela, Diego?
So, kailan inaasahan yung peak ng pagbalik ng mga pasahero? And of course, it's going to be traffic. Yan ang inaasahan natin.
Nako, starting today, ine-expect na nila na marami nang babalik dito sa Quezon City, sa Cubao. Dahil nga yung mga fully booked din na biyahe talagang nag-start today up until the weekend. And kung makikita nyo rin, dito papakita ko sa inyo mismo yung traffic situation. So far, ganito pa naman kaluwag yung daan dito mismo sa may EDSA. So hindi pa ganun karami yung sasakyan at hindi pa ganun katindi yung daloy ng trapiko. Pero dahil nga inaasahan natin na marami na rin yung babalik dito sa Manila, syempre baka mas dumami din talaga mas tumindi din talaga yung daloy ng traffic. And ito, isa to sa mga bus actually, Angela, Diego, na aircon. So ito usually yung mga bus na fully booked na. Pero kung may mag-walk-in man daw, sinisigurado din ang mga bus terminal dito na magiging maayos. Pero non-aircon buses na lang daw usually yung available kung mag-walk-in at mag-book ng kanilang biyahe papunta dito sa Manila, pati papalik dun sa kanilang mga provinces.
Amy, may reported ba dyan na aberya sa mga buses na yan na nagbumabiyahe or any road accidents?
Well, so far, no, wala naman tayong na-record. And actually, ang most na nagiging problem lang dito, yung mga nako-confiscate na gamit. Meron tayong nakita dun sa mismo mga box na na-confiscate na mga kutsilyo, mga patalim. Meron ding mga butane, pati lighter na pinagbabawal daw sa mga bus terminal dito. And syempre, additional to that, though wala namang na-confiscate, no, pero pinapaalala ng mga pamunuan ng bus terminals dito sa Cubao na wag nga daw magdala ng mga droga dahil nga syempre napaka-intoxicating ng bagay na yan. So yun yung talagang nagiging sisterin dito, strict yung implementation nila sa mga pinagbabawal na gamit. And yun, meron daw instances na pagbalik nila dito sa Manila, kinukuha nila pabalik yung gamit nila. So pwede naman daw yan dahil nasa isang box lang din talaga siya.
Amy, may nabanggit kang mga about drugs, no? Nag-random drug testing ba sila sa mga driver dyan?
So far, no, alamin pa natin kung meron. Pero ang usual system din naman talaga dito ay i-make sure na lahat nga ng mga empleyado dito ay syempre maayos at syempre proper para nga sa pakikitungo din sa mga pasahero na uuwi at magsisibalikan dito sa Manila.
Okay, Amy, ako nakikita ko kasi sa likod mo, marami-raming pasahero pa rin. Yan naman yung mga taga-province na pumunta dito sa Manila at ngayon ay pauwi na, tama?
Yes, actually meron dito sa may area na ito, ilan sa mga nakausap natin. So papunta sila ng Quezon. So ganito karami pa yung tao. At marami din yung gamit. So nagbakasyon sila dito sa Manila. Dito sila nag-holidays at babalik na sila sa kanilang provinces. So ayun, tuloy-tuloy naman yung standby and actually may umiikot dito na mga authorities sa mismong bus terminal para nga i-announce yung mga biyahe na paalis na. And syempre yung mga biyahe na fully
Dami
booked
pa
na
rin.
kailangan ng standby.
Oo, medyo marami-rami at medyo siksikan na sila dyan while waiting.
Last minute habol pa
Oo.
uwi.
Alright, sige, maraming salamat sa iyo. That was our mobile journalist, Amy Atienza, reporting live from Cubao and Quezon City.
Now, travelers are continuing to arrive at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport as many Filipinos return home after the holidays. For the latest, let's bring in mobile journal Arles de los Santos. Arles, busy ba ang airport ngayon o mukhang parang konti pa rin ang tao?
Angela, Diego, abala pa rin ang mga airport dito, kagaya na lamang sa NAIA Terminal 2, kung saan doon sa unahan dito, tuloy-tuloy yung pagdating ng mga kapatid natin na pauwi sa kanilang mga probinsya. At yung iba, syempre, pauwi palabas ng bansa, no? Dito medyo nasa dulong bahagi lang tayo, pero dito yung mga dumating nating mga
Arles.
Arles?
kapatid.
Ayun.
Hello.
Yan, nawala
Yeah.
ka Arles, pero ano, okay na, go ahead. Nako, may problema sa signal ni Arles who is reporting mula sa NAIA Terminal 3.
So yung ilan sa mga kapatid
Yun.
natin,
Arles, medyo choppy yung signal natin, no? Baka you can repeat what you said.
Diego, is it clear now?
Yes, Arles, go ahead. Go ahead, Arles.
Okay. So dito tayo sa dulong bahagi nitong Terminal 2, kung saan, kung makikita ninyo dito sa aking likuran at dito sa aking harapan, tuloy-tuloy yung pagdating ng mga kababayan natin na pauwi sa kanilang mga probinsya. Yung iba nagbakasyon lamang pero ayaw na daw nila na maipit sa dagsan ng mga tao sa paparating na weekend, no? Kaya pinili na nilang mas agahan na ngayon, no? Patungkol doon sa security, alam nyo Angela at Diego, napakahigpit ng security dito. Syempre bago makapasok, kailangan ng ticket. Yung pag walang plane ticket, hindi ka basta-basta makakapasok. And syempre yung pag-scan ng kanilang mga gamit and yung bigat bawal talagang sumobra. Nakaredy naman dito yung kanilang mga cart, gaya nito, no, na pwede nilang magamit, at syempre yung mga wheelchair around the area para naman sa ating mga senior citizen at mga person with disability na kakailanganin ng pumasok at kailangan ng alalay para sa kanilang paggamit dito sa airport. Alam nyo, Angela at Diego, nitong mga nakaraang araw, inilabas na ng NAIA, no, at kung saan nga naitala nila ang pinakamataas na volume ng passenger sa buong taon, no? Umabot ngayon sa 52 million, kung saan nasa 4 million ang naitala nitong buong Disyembre lamang, no? At ito nga ay inaasahan na dadami pa sa pagdating ng mga araw. Kahapon, when we checked, umabot ng 1.9 million yung kabuuan ng mga na-accommodate na passenger ng holiday season. Mula December 20 lamang yan hanggang December 31, 2025. Pero maaari pang tumaas pa daw yan ng 2.5 million hanggang January 4 na uwian ng mga kapatid natin pagkatapos nga ng kanilang mga holiday breaks.
I was wondering, Arles, if you were able to go inside NAIA and observe yung heightened security status nila dyan because of the recent reports na may nag-escape na South Korean fugitives. No? So sabi nila, ang Bureau of Immigration ay talagang naka-heightened alert ngayon.
Actually, Angela, we've used the airport, halos kaparehas pa din naman yung sistema. Hindi ka basta-basta makakapasok at least dito sa Terminal 2, no? Sa Terminal 3 kasi, last time we checked doon, pwede ka namang makapasok pero limited access lang din. Bawal ka doon sa check-in area. I think that's prerogative naman, no? Pero dito, punong-puno pa rin ang mga paalala. Bawal mag-bomb joke, bawal magdala ng mga mapanganib na gamit, bawal yung ibang mga liquido and any substances sa talagang sinisilip yan, no, ng mga security dito. And yung kanilang enforcement ng traffic ay talagang tuloy-tuloy pa rin at kapansin-pansin, bawal yung mag-stop ng mas matagal, dapat mag-unload lamang ng mga gamit and then kailangan mo nang mag-proceed. Then doon sa loob lalo, bawal yung walang mga visitors pass or yung walang mga access, yung mga walang ticket, hindi ka talaga makakapasok. At least dito sa Terminal 2 ng NAIA.
Arles, I don't know if you na-observe mo yung sa mga, you mentioned kasi drop-off points, no? Yung mga drop-off points, paano ang direksyon ng kotse nakaharap? Kasi if you remember a few months back ba, yung may na-aksidente na yung kotse dumedire-diretso, namatay ata yung bata at saka yung nanay, no? Sabi nila, they will correct the way the cars are facing sa drop-off kasi the last time we traveled, nakaharap yung car sa entrada ng terminal. Sabi nila, gagawin nilang parallel.
Actually, Diego, ito, at nasa harapan natin mismo kung paano sila mag-drop off dito, no?
Hindi yan yung
Meron na
area,
silang mga boxes.
Oo.
But I think yung bollards na naalala natin, I think
Yes,
sa babang area pa yon, sa babang
Yes.
area yon.
Oo.
But dito, medyo mas may gap na, no? Ito, may nakita tayo dito, mga boxes
oo.
hanggang doon. And then, yung other car, pwede naman siya doon dumikit sa isa pang car. Pero yan, kagaya niyan, may guard and bawal magtagal. Kailangan mo nang umalis agad pagkababa mo ng mga gamit. Until doon yan, sa base 23 hanggang 25, talagang binabantayan ng mga guard. Bawal magtagal at kailangan umalis na agad-agad.
Oo nga, bago yung boxes, Arles, saka oo nga, parallel na sila. Kasi the last time we traveled, nakaharap yung muso ng kotse dyan sa may sa may bollard na may supposedly kung may
sa
bollard.
kabila yun eh.
Oo. But yung boxes, bago yan
Bago yan.
Oo.
Pero yung bollard ba, napansin mo ba doon sa kabila, okay naman na siya, napalitan na? Kasi I remember during that accident na binabanggit ni Diego kanina, nalaman nila na parang, di ba, hindi siya talaga nakabaon doon sa semento.
Oh, nakadikit lang ata
Kasama yan sa mga titignan natin dito, Angela, sa pag-iikot natin sa Terminal 2. But at least right now, ito talagang dumadami pa yung mga tao rito na dumadating. Madami din actually naghihintay sa baba ng kanilang mga kapatid at kamag-anak na darating. Yung iba mga galing domestic travels. So far, wala pa namang naitatalang delayed flights. Everything's on time. May mga expected arrival. But at least for the bollards and other safety measures dito, no, sisilipin pa natin yan maya-maya lamang.
Arles, how's traffic around the area? Napansin mo ba? Maluwag pa rin kasi kanina, so I don't know pag dyan maluwag pa rin or may build up na rin?
Medyo may build up doon, Diego, sa may Andrews Avenue,
Yes,
no, doon malapit sa resort at yung labasan ng NAIA X, no. Kumpara sa mga nakarang araw na nag-cover tayo sa NAIA, medyo kumakapal na yung mga sasakyan doon, no, pero flowing naman yung traffic so far. Pero medyo marami-rami na kumpara nung mga nakaraan, no. Ngayon kapag ka dumiretso doon papasok ng Terminal 2, banayad na ulit yung daloy ng traffic. Strict na rin, no? Nagbabantay pa rin doon yung mga MMDA, ilang airport police para nga masigurado na walang magbabarang traffic at tuloy-tuloy ang pagpasok ng mga pasahero ng NAIA dito.
Okay, so always ang reklamo ng mga pasahero sa NAIA, yung pagbalik nila dito, yung pag-aantay nila ng kanilang mga luggages, 'di ba? Dahil sometimes hindi alam, naiiwan yung luggage nila or ang tagal umikot ng baggage carousel. So, may insidente ba tayo ng mga ganong reklamo this time around?
Kanina nakausap tayo, Angela, ng ilan dito no kagagaling lamang mula sa kanilang probinsya. Medyo may ilang minuto na hintay daw, but for them, they don't mind it naman kasi madami daw mga pasahero and minsan nagko-coincide din yan sa mga eroplano at iba pang flights na dumarating dito, no? Pero titignan natin mamaya kung mas mabilis na ba talaga, kung may changes pa. Kasi kung maalala nyo, ang haba nun eh.
Yes,
Paikot-ikot
lagi
siya.
yung cause of delay.
Oo. And of course, kung kabababa mo lang ng airplane, tapos nalingatan mo yung gamit mo, kailangan mong maghintay ulit ng ilang minuto bago umikot yon.
At saka ayos, may nakabantay ba dyan yung mga from the transportation sector? Kasi alam ko na sabi nila, babantayan nila itong mga taxis na possibly mangontrata pa lang bago sumakay yung mga pasahero pa uwi.
Meron dito, Diego. Actually, parang 2 or 3 team ng mga pulis yung nakita natin, at least on the split end that's ng Terminal 2, no? And iba pa dyan yung ilang MMDA staff at airport police to enforce the traffic and smooth flow din ng pagsakay at pagbaba ng mga pasahero dito sa airport.
Alright, maraming salamat, Mobile Journal Arles de los Santos, reporting live from NAIA. We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. Good morning. You're still watching News and Views here on One News. The country's top leaders marked the new year with messages to the Filipino people. President Bongbong Marcos called on Filipinos to welcome 2026 with discipline, unity, and a shared commitment to national progress. He urged the public to choose empathy, service, and hope as the country continues its push for what he called a bagong Pilipinas. Meanwhile, Vice President Sara Duterte encouraged Filipinos to let go of fear and doubt as the new year opens a new chapter filled with hope. She also called for unity, faith, and collective strength, saying these are key to overcoming challenges and building a brighter future for the country.
Interesting messages from both leaders, considering nag-aaway sila.
Hindi, actually, the same lang naman yung message nila before.
Oo.
Only that this year at saka last year talagang hiwalay na.
Hindi, I'm
Hiwalay
saying,
na sila.
you're calling for unity pero nag-aaway kayo. Yun ang sinasabi
Ironic.
ko. Na very ironic, very interesting, di ba? Tapos, ang word, nandun pa rin yung branding ng Pangulo, yung bagong Pilipinas. Di ba? Alam naman natin na he's been carrying that banner ever since he stepped in.
And,
oo.
And then, it was a challenging year for Vice President Sara Duterte, no? Because of the arrest of her father, tapos impeachment complaint, di ba?
Actually, for
Against her, and for PBBM.
For both leaders, challenging kasi VP Sara had to face all these legal battles sa impeachment and sa daddy niya, sa father niya. And si PBBM naman was dealing with a country that has seen one of the most corrupt budgets in history. Tapos nagkaroon pa ng issue sa flood control. Dahil, di ba, if you remember, there was this time na umulan, I think it was a week straight.
Yeah.
Tapos yung flooding was terrible and then so he addressed it sa kanyang SONA.
Because before the SONA, di ba, there was a talk pa nga before the SONA na baka i-cancel or
because of the baha.
because of the flood.
Tapos yung famous Mahiya naman kayo. So very challenging, daming issues lumabas this year for both leaders
And
actually.
we ended the year, di ba, ng 2025 with both of them having a decrease of trust rating approval.
Oo.
Di ba? Pero although bumaba si Vice President Sara Duterte, mas mataas pa rin yung approval rating niya as compared to PBBM.
Tsaka despite of yung maintaining high numbers ni VP Sara, ayaw pa rin ng karamihan sa ating kababayan ng change leadership or
But
government.
I remember kasi saying, sinasabi ng ibang mga political scientists or analysts regarding this survey kasi it's really, ang comparison kasi dito, yung presidente, siya talaga yung kumbaga face ng government. So talagang maraming mga hindi matutuwa doon sa mga ginagawa niya, especially we're faced nga with this anomalous flood control projects. As to Vice President Sara Duterte naman, saying na wala naman talaga siyang ibang yung ginagawa, no, na sinasabi mo yung direktang ginagawa, kasi as Vice President, she is a spare tire of this country. Whatever happens sa presidente, siya yung papalit. So parang walang makita na concrete, how do you say that? Yung makita na ginawa niya na progress, 'di ba? Although she has a lot of projects here and there, pero as compared
Actually,
to
yung-
Vice President BBM,
Oh,
magkaiba.
actually, yung Vice President, ano yun, more on interaction with the general public.
Oo,
yan, eh.
oo. Tapos, syempre, all throughout the years since the father was arrested, former President Duterte,
Busy abroad.
busy siya going back and forth, di ba? In and out of the country.
All right, joining us this morning for a discussion on what to expect in 2026 is Dr. Dennis Coronacion, Chairman of the UST Department of Political Science. Good
morning.
morning, Prof. Thank you for joining us again.
Yeah, Happy New Year!
Thank you for having me. Good morning and Happy New Year.
Alright, Prof, medyong nabugbog si President Marcos 2025, no? Ang daming issues na lumabas about governance, corruption, no? Now, going into 2026, ano yung mga kailangan niyang gawin para mag-improve yung ratings niya?
Well, unang-una po sa lahat yung yung pinangako niya that last December 15 dapat may mga big fish na mga makukulong.
Oh.
But that did not happen, so kaya siguro I think in the days leading to December 15, yun yung coverage ng surveys ng Pulse Asia, December 12 to 15. Parang na-express na doon yung frustration and disappointment ng Filipino public over the lackluster and lukewarm performance of the president with regard to his promise to send those who are involved, especially in big fish, in jail by December 15. So, yan yung una-una niyan dapat gawin, to address the corruption issue and to put an end to what he started. So, yun ang hinihintay ng mga tao. Sana emphatic yung kanyang pagtatapos ng kanyang anti-corruption crusade.
Pero yun nga, no, of course, sa panig ng presidente through his spokesperson, Yusek Claire Castro, sinasabi nila, they don't really care, they don't mind the numbers, yung approval rating kung bumagsak, sa kanila magtatrabaho lang. But at this point, kailangan ba niya talaga, kumbaga parang concern with this number?
Actually, hindi naman sobrang bagsak yung kanyang numbers because as shown in the Pulse Asia survey, parang konti lang naman yung kanyang pagbagsak, minimal hindi naman double digit. So it should not be a cause of alarm and concern on the part of the president. But definitely it should serve as a guide as a kumbaga man feedback kung how well he has been doing with regard to governance, particularly doon sa corruption issue.
There was a talk na magkakaroon ulit o mabubuhay yung impeachment case against Vice President Sara Duterte. That's an ongoing talk. But of course, meron din mga looming discussion doon naman sa magiging tadhana ni President Bongbong Marcos, which is there will be an impeachment case against him din daw. Do you see that as well?
Well, yeah, it's possible, anything is possible in 2026. Pero I think between the two impeachment cases, kung mas malapit siguro sa katotohanan yung posibleng pagpa-file ng panibagong impeachment complaint against the Vice President. Yun talaga mas posible yun compared to the possibility that an impeachment complaint can be filed against the president. Kasi I think at this point, even though marami na nag-iisip that the president has become a lame duck leader, he continues to enjoy a significant the support of a significant number of congressmen. Doon naman nag-uumpisa yung impeachment complaint, doon fina-file, tapos itutuloy na lamang sa Senado during the trial. So I think the president continues to enjoy the support of the majority of the congressmen Kaya posible na mangyari yung pagpa-file ng impeachment complaint by February.
That's right.
As mentioned by the Supreme Court.
But Prof, well, it's approaching the tail end of the presidency of PBBM, also the vice presidency tenure of VP Sara. But ang question dito is, we've seen rises and dips of numbers of both leaders. But if you talk to the analysts, if you talk to the pollsters, yung mga SWS survey, they will tell you that it's within the parameters of how many supporters they really have. So parang they're holding on to their battlegrounds. Ang question dito is, and the very important one is the middle forces, the undecideds. Ano ang tingin mo kailangan gawin ng both leaders to capture them? Kasi at this point, ngayon pa lang, critical na daw yan eh.
Yeah, tama kayo dyan, kasi kung makikita natin sa mga latest surveys, malaki pa rin yung malaking number ng undecided.
Oo.
Na section ng Filipino.
Tsaka Prof,
public.
mga swing yan.
Yes, nakita natin yan doon sa midterm sa 2025 midterm elections I think itong undecided na to, they were responsible for the election of Senator Bam Aquino and Senator Kiko Pangilinan, who in the previous surveys were not included in the Magic 12. Tapos nagulat na lang tayo, hindi lang nakapasok kundi ang taas pa ng positions nila, ng ranking nila.
Both within top 5.
Yeah, so definitely both leaders, all camps who intend to join in the 2028 elections should definitely give attention to this so-called third force o kaya yung undecided.
Diretsahin ko na, Prof. Diretsahin ko na. Binanggit mo rin, si Bam tsaka si Senator Pangilinan. Yung pink votes.
Oh, well, usap-usapan po yan, kasi parang nag-gain sila ng momentum ngayon, When the rest of when the majority of the Filipino public were concentrated on yung banggaan ng dalawang major groups, yung admin at saka yung VP-led opposition, nagulatan lahat na meron palang third force noong 2025. So I think yung momentum ng third force na yan, yung mga so-called kakamping, Liberal Party, posible magtuloy-tuloy yan, but it all depends on what they're going to do. So merong mga nagsasabi dapat mag-unite yung admin at saka yung third force, yung mga kakampings, which is possible naman, kasi we have seen them cooperate in the previous years. Halimbawa nung yung investigation kay Alice Guo.
Yes, oo.
Tapos itong midterm elections, nakita natin somehow kumbaga man meron silang understanding. We would not say na complete cooperation, pero may understanding yung dalawang grupo na yan. So if that's going to continue, united sila, maaring they might come up with a formidable force to counter the popularity of the Vice President.
Dikit ko lang before I turn over. Why do you think, looking back at last year and the years, the first 2 years ni PBBM, why do you think the pink vote mas sympathetic towards PBBM kesa sa Duterte brand? If you remember, ang galit ng pink sa Duterte brand was because ginawang hero ang father ni PBBM.
Well, that's one of the many things na kinakagalit nila. But I think generally speaking, magkaiba sila in terms of ideology, yung mga kakamping, they're identified with pro-democracy or they're promoting democracy. Whereas naman yung term ng Pangulo natin, even though na-retain naman yung ating democratic setup, pero mas identified yung dating Pangulo sa pagiging authoritarian leadership style niya, pagiging authoritarian leader niya. So I think ideologically, magkaiba sila. Kaya mas malapit sila sa Pangulo, sa kasalukuyang Pangulo, mas willing sila mag-cooperate kasi may mga ilang policies, may mga ilang government decisions that both of them agree with. O halimbawa na lang yung pagpapakulong sa dating pangulo, making him accountable, isa 'yon. Nagkakaisa sila doon. Kaya nga nung huling EDSA rally itong November 30, ang panawagan ng civil society, kasama na rin doon yung ilan sa mga campings, is not to allow the proposal na pababay sa pwesto si Pangulong. So, they agree on several points. Kaya mas posible yung kanilang pagsasama hanggang 2028.
Well, going back po dun sa usapin ng flood control issues, nabanggit niyo po kanina na siguro yung kung matupad ni Pangulong Bongbong Marcos yung promise niya na talagang may makulong na big fish, maaring tumaas yung kanyang numbers. But I remember we were talking to Yusek Claire Castro over at the show, and sinabi ko sa kanya na parang lumampas na yung Pasko, wala pa rin nakulong. Ang sagot niya ay hindi naman yung presidente yung nangako, but the ombudsman. Your thoughts on that?
I don't think so.
It's separate, ano?
Kasi kahit pa kahit pa i-deny niya yan o kaya sabi niya na hindi talaga siyang yung pangulo ang nangako. Pero the anti-corruption crusade is identified with the president.
Exactly.
So mahirap kahit pa sinong government official ang mangako, isipin pa rin ng publiko na parte pa rin ng anti-corruption crusade ng Pangulo.
Okay, so with the ongoing investigations and the release of several warrants of arrest, diba, dito sa mga involved officials sa flood control anomaly, nakikita niyo po ba na, like the other people would see it, there's a selective justice in this administration in terms of, kasi sinasabi nila hindi naman talaga nagkakaroon ng deeper investigation on the allies of the president, like former House Speaker Martin Romualdez, his former cabinet secretaries, etc.
Yeah, hindi malayo na isipin ng publiko na maaari nagkakaroon ng cover-up given yung lukewarm at saka yung half-hearted na effort ng administration o ng government to fulfill its promise of sending those who were responsible to jail. So talagang yun ang nagiging yun ang nananaig na perception, and it's not a nice way to end a promise to o kaya itong anti-corruption drive ng Pangulo. If the President intends to leave a good legacy for his administration, ito sana yun kaya nga lang mukhang yung pagtatapos as things are going, parang hindi ayon doon sa kanyang sinimulan. So hangga't hindi nakakita ng mga makukulong na big fish ang publiko, tingin ko bagsak ang magiging pagtingin sa kanya ng mga Pilipino.
Speaking of big fish, sino ba yung nakikita nating big fish dito? 'Di ba? Sabi nila, bakit is Sara Diskaya not big fish? Yan ang isa sa sinabi ni Yusek Claire Castro.
Oh yeah, pero itong corruption na to systemic. Hindi lang mga contractors ang pwede papanagutin dito. Hindi lang DPWH executives ang dapat papanagutin dito, pati na rin yung mga legislators who were mentioned in the course of the investigations of the Senate and in the House. So magkakaiba sila ng mga nababanggit ng mga pangalan. Pero ang point doon, ang tanong, may senador na ba na nakulong? I think doon pa lang sa Bulacan, yung mga ghost project sa Bulacan, may mga nabanggit na ng mga senador. Ang tanong doon, how come that none of them has been sent to Sasabihin naman may due process. Yeah, pero may na-file na, pero ang kasi doon is hindi yung legalities kundi yung kinakailangang i-satisfy yung galit ng mga tao na ibinulsa yung mga taxes na binabayad nila. In fact, tingin ko kaya rin nag-gain ng traction yung expose ni Congressman Leviste.
Oo.
Kasi nga ang pananaw ng publiko parang nakakalimutan na wala nang investigation na nangyari. Yung investigation ng ICI wala namang patutunguhan, nagre-resign na nga yung mga commissioners. So in the absence of a clear action on the part of the government na ipupurso nila itong investigations, bigla tuloy nagiging relevant yung mga expose ni Congressman Leviste. Kasi parang tingin ng tao, ito yung pagpapatuloy na dapat sana sinisiwalat ng gobyerno.
Would you agree that 2025 is a year of democracy? We've seen a lot of massive protests, people asking for accountability, deeper investigation on this. Do you think or do you see 2026 will be parang, kumbaga, ito na yung magiging norm, 'di ba, na boses ng tao yung papakinggan dapat?
Yes, I think I do agree with that observation. Na the people have a stronger voice in the political issues that are happening in our country. Unlike before, pag pinag-uusapan yung mga corruption scandal like yung Napoles scandal, nag-gain rin naman ng traction, pinag-usapan ng publiko, nagalit rin ng mga Pilipino. But the kind of conversation, the public conversation and public discourse that are happening with regard to this issue is very different compared to 2013 and compared to the discussions in the previous corruption scandals.
Yung mga
Iba ngayon,
barrel, oo.
Oo, to the point na talagang lumalabas na sa kalye at pati sa social media.
Engaged na eh.
So, yes, that's right. Oo, at saka nagiging maingat na rin yung mga politiko natin na sa pag-flaunt ng kanilang mga earnings na nanggagaling sa mga hindi tama na gawain na. So, ayun, I think nagbago yung public discourse starting 2025, and I think it's going to be the same in 2026.
Do you think, well, kasi madami nagsasabi, and I was looking at the numbers with terms of sa Napoles and how angry people were. Nag-fizzle out kaagad, no? Yung galit nila. Do you think na kasi kaya may ingay daw ngayon, it's because you have the younger generation engaging, no? And they're very angry at corruption. Ang problema, while they are angry, syempre emotions are high, hindi nila nararamdaman ng ibang problema. Ngayon, sa 2026, Prof, ang tanong ko, do you think continued traffic problems, continued prices of goods that seem to remain high, di ba? Yung mga issue na malapit sa gut natin, pag maramdaman to ng bata, ang fear ng iba, baka makalimutan nila yung corruption issues. And they'll start getting angry naman because mataas ang presyo, grabe ang traffic. So, ano yung take mo dito?
Well, that's also possible, but on the other hand, it's also possible na meron na ngang ongoing corruption issue na hindi pa rin nare-resolba. And in addition to that, meron pang mga ganyang issues na sinasabi yung mga issues na malapit sa sikmura, like yung unemployment, tapos yung wala na economic development, and poverty, and food insecurity. So, pag nagsama-sama yan, pwede rin namang lalong magdulot ng mas malaking problema sa
Boiling point.
administrasyon.
Boiling point, no, Prof?
Yeah, pwede mag-create ng boiling point, and mas lalo pa maging unstable yung administration. Yung last year it was a problem, ano?
Yeah.
The president was, I think, somehow he became scared as to the reaction of the people. Itong mga protesta na to, at saka yung destabilization plot, somehow that poses a serious threat to his administration. So it's possible that it can happen again because the people will no longer trust him, that he can carry out, in terms of solving the problems of this country.
Well, speaking of losing trust kay PBBM, do you think it is enough to erode a significant of his number of his base ni PBBM? Kasi if you talk to a lot of people on the street also, mas gugustuhin daw nila magutom kaysa mapagbintangan daw na naging drug dealer tapos mapatay daw. I mean, common sentiments na from yung mga tao sa mga kanto, sa kalye, ganun ang karamihan sa pananaw nila within at least NCR.
Yeah, oo. Yun na nga, ever since itong corruption issue has started, parang nadadama yung yung legitimacy of the president to rule. Kaya kapag hindi niya nga ma-address lahat ng mga issues na to, governance issues, economic issues, his legitimacy will continue to suffer alongside with yung phenomenon na nararanasan ng mga pangulo pagpasok ng second half of their na yung lame duck leadership.
Okay. So going back to Vice President Sara Duterte, sabi nga nila itong mga survey na to na pinag-uusapan natin nung 2025 is a reality check. No politician should ignore, no? Kasi nakikita natin na VP Sara still enjoys yung ratings niya sa Visayas and Mindanao, while alam naman natin sa Luzon si PBBM naman yung medyo umaangat doon. But can we say based on this survey, Sara presidency is a sure win? Is sure win?
Well, if the election is going to be held this year, posible yon that the surveys might be indicative of a possible electoral victory for presidential candidate Sara Duterte. Kaso 2028 pang election natin,
Marami pang maaaring mangyari.
Yes, it's too early to say na iyan na talaga maging resulta. Pero kung sino man nais kumalaban kay Vice President, malaking bagay ito because ito ay itong survey sa to ay pinanggagalingan ng data tungkol sa political reality natin. And the current political reality says that the Dutertes are still popular in the Philippines. Whether we like it or not. In fact, pag nagpunta ka ng Mindanao, nakikita mo dahil yung mga taga Mindanao talagang all out yung suporta nila sa mga Duterte. As shown in the in the results of the midterm elections, pag nagpunta ka sa Davao, sa Mindanao, yung kanilang Duterte pasok sa Magic 12. Oo, yung Duterte magtataka ka kung bakit. So that means na
solid yung
intact pa yung
support.
kanilang machinery and popular pa rin sila.
Yeah. We spoke, Prof, the other day ba yan? With Contreras, political analyst as well. At sabi niya, one of the, Antonio Contreras ba? One of the,
Contreras,
yeah. Ang sabi niya is, ang take niya is, one sure way daw of ensuring a possible victory against the Dutertes is PBBM should explore the option of endorsing a candidate from the yellow or the pinks. Like a possible Senator Ontiveros or si Senator Bam Aquino. That would definitely unify and force the Marcos base and the yellow base to be voting for one candidate.
Oh yes, yan nga yung nasabi ko kanina na I think it has become a dominant topic pag-uusapan yung 2028 presidential elections. But there is also, bukod pa, it's a possibility. But there are so many possibilities and combinations of candidates sa pwedeng mangyari sa 2028. Siguro sa ngayon, because of the lack of names na pwedeng tumakbo, posibleng tumakbo sa 2028, at this point, yan ang pinag-uusapan na formula in order to beat the Vice President, na magsama nga yung pink, yung kakamping at saka yung grupo ni President Bongbong Marcos.
Oh, pero Prof, there's another dark horse, Prof, the Tulfo brand. How will they all pan out in this scenario?
Tama ho, sa ngayon, they are very silent, or if not, they're denying na interesado silang tumakbo sa pagka-pangulo sa 2028. Pero kasi ang problema kaya tahimik pa ang karamihan, baka mapagaya sila kay former Vice President Dinan.
Oo.
O na maaga pa lang alam na ng lahat na tatakbo siya. Kaya ayun tuloy, 2 or 3 years binabanatan siya hanggang tuluyan na nga bumagsak ang kanyang credibility because of the corruption issue.
Yes, oo.
Well, of course, do you agree also that the President is to focus on his corruption crusade, that he almost, ignores na yung mga key issues such as yung mga prices, gasoline, yung sa market, etc. Do you believe that?
No, I don't think so. I think the President is also giving a significant attention or significant amount of his time in solving the other problems of the country. Kaya nga lang talagang itong corruption issue is dragging his reputation down. Talagang nasisira yung kanyang reputasyon, even affected na rin yung kanyang legitimacy, At posible rin na yung kanyang it also puts into question whether or not matatapos ba siya yung termino niya hanggang 2028 o baka magkaroon ng early stepping down from office. So, yung mga ganung bagay, possible cause of distraction. But I think the president is also giving time to in solving the other problems of the country.
Right, and of course, before I let you go, last big issue, fearless forecast mo. Do you see a Senator Bato de la Rosa being found anytime soon at may padala sa ICC?
Missing ba to?
Missing Bato.
Mahirap po mahirap sagutin yan kasi
Gito na lang, sa tingin nyo, susuko ba siya o kailangan hanapin?
tingin ko hindi susuko yan. Kagaya ng mga ginagawa ng mga ilan sa mga public officials natin na nasasangkot sa mga issues at posibleng makulong. Yung iba dyan nagkukunwaring may sakit. Yung iba naman pupunta sa ibang bansa. Kunwari may dadalawin na o may sasamahan na kapamilya may sakit.
Biglang wheelchair, biglang high blood.
Si Secretary Manny Bonoan, di ba? December 17.
Wala
He's
pa rin.
supposed to be back on December 17, pero wala.
Oo, I think yung pagtatago has been a very popular strategy among our politicians. Ginawa na yan ni Senator Ping Lacson at kung sino, Senator Gringo Nasan.
Yes.
Parang naging norm na yan eh.
Well, to be fair, Prof, since all sides all the time ang tagline ng One News, sinabi kasi naman ng lawyer ni Senator Bato de la Rosa, lawyer Torion, attorney Torion, hindi naman daw nagtatago si Senator Bato de la Rosa.
Pupunta daw ng
for
salon,
the record,
papagupit daw sa salon.
Hindi. Hindi niya sinabi yun. Pero for the record,
Joke yun,
hindi siya
ikaw naman.
hindi siya nagtatago. And bakit siya magtatago? Kasi there's no arrest pa naman, technically.
Wala pa, walang warrant.
Diba? These are all talks, diba, on their side.
Yeah, in fairness to the camp of Senator Bato de la Rosa, maaring ang point nila yun. Pero ang tanong ko, ba't di siya pumapasok sa trabaho?
Ang daming key issues and legislation na siyang responsible na hindi niya tinututukan. At, Prof, sinisweldohan siya.
Yes.
Oo.
At saka siya yata yung sponsor sa budget eh.
Yes,
Pagdating
sa defense. National defense ata.
Sa defense, nasaan siya? Siya sana magde-defend ng budget ng defense. So,
Si Senator Sherwin tuloy ang kumuha.
So, bakit di niya pinaperform ang kanyang trabaho kung talagang di siya nagtatago?
Well, that's a question also most Filipinos are asking today. But of course, maraming salamat po sa iyong oras and of course sa iyong insights, Dr. Dennis Coronacion, Chairman of the UST Department of Political Science. Maraming salamat po and Happy New Year.
Starting today, the Land Transportation Office is enforcing a ban on e-bikes and e-trikes along major thoroughfares in Metro Manila. The restriction covers key roads including EDSA, C5 Road, Rojas Boulevard, and the stretch from Quirino Avenue to Magallanes South Luzon Expressway, which authorities say are unsafe for slower and smaller vehicles. Drivers who violate the ban may face penalties under existing traffic laws, including fines and possible vehicle impoundment. The LTO said it will deploy law enforcers at critical points along these roads to inform motorists of the policy and ensure proper enforcement. Don't go away because we're not done yet. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching News and Views here on One News.
3 weather systems continue to affect the country according to Pag-asa. The northeast monsoon is prevailing over northern Luzon, bringing cooler temperatures and moderate to occasionally heavy rains. The easterlies are affecting the eastern sections of the Visayas and Mindanao, resulting in generally warm and humid conditions. Isolated rain showers and thunderstorms are expected particularly in the afternoon or evening. Meanwhile, the shear line is influencing parts of central and southern Luzon, where the interaction of cold and warm air masses is producing cloudy skies with scattered to widespread rains.
Devotees flock to Quiapo Church on the first day of the year to pay homage to Jesus Nazareno ahead of his feast on January 9. As early as 4 a.m., the faithful attended the traditional First Friday Mass at the Minor Basilica and National Shrine of Jesus Nazareno in Manila. Police have deployed more than 14,000 personnel for crowd control and security as church and government agencies continue preparations for the annual Traslacion.
The Rizal Memorial Sports Complex is getting a major makeover as the Philippines prepares to host its first ever WTA 125 Women's Open this January. Mobile journalist Denise Valdesancho reports.
Renovations are in full swing at the Rizal Memorial Sports Complex as the Philippines prepares to host its first ever WTA 125 Philippine Women's Open this January. With just weeks to go before the international tournament, the Philippine Sports Commission says work is continuing not just at the tennis center, but across the entire sports complex.
If you give me 2-3 more weeks, you will not recognize Rizal.
Ongoing works across the whole Rizal complex includes new asphalt roads, clearing of long abandoned structures, and the installation of solar lights. For the WTA event, however, the focus remains on the tennis complex where major upgrades are being done to meet international standards. From just a few hundred, seating at the tennis center is being increased to around 2,000.
Buti na lang meron tayong WTA na i-host, international. Kailangan pagandahin naman natin, kailangan makita naman ng mga tao na it's presentable, comparable, no? If not it's the same, at least comparable with all the other WTA hostings all over the world, no?
Beyond tennis, the PSC says other facilities within Rizal are also part of the long-term redevelopment plan. Work is also planned for the aquatic center as well as the 7-story athletes dormitory being built, expected to be completed within the next 18 months. The PSC is also studying the repurposing of an abandoned bowling center inside the complex. Baseball is also on the radar, with the PSC working with stakeholders to revive the historic baseball stadium. With the focus on the tennis center, PSC says work is targeted for completion by third week of January, just ahead of the tournament opening on January 26.
It's what it's all about. Yung we're using sports to promote our country. We're using twofold palagi yan. We're using sports to develop the grassroots, the young people who will take up tennis.
Kapatid Denise Valdesancho, we are One News.
Yun, WTA 125. Pala yun.
Women's Tennis Association 125 open. Matagal na long-term plan nila ito na yung Rizal Memorial, di ba? Yung bowling area na yan, I remember that may may duck pin, may 10 pin yan. Pero hindi na kasi nagagamit, so parang na-dilapidate na siya. So
at least
they're going to transform it into something else. So, i-repurpose nila into Ang alam ko, I heard that they were looking at a stadium for table tennis or other sport. Ang tawag nila doon, up-and-coming sports, di ba? May pickleball ka, meron kang paddle, di ba? Ayun. Oy, Happy New Year to everyone.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
We're
Kamusta
back.
na ang New Year niyo lahat? I hope all of you are safe. Ngayon, it's time to reheat all the food. Tipid-tipid na kasi ubos na ang pera ng karamihan. Di ba? At maging
Back to
healthy
the grind na tayo.
Back to the grind. At ang abangan natin ngayon, of course, yung traslasyon.
Yes,
malapit.
January 9 yun.
Oo, malapit-lapit na yun. Iko-cover natin yan.
Saka yung mga big fish.
Big fish.
Saan ba sila lumalangoy ngayon?
Bigay muna natin kay Jesus tong traslasyon, tapos saka pag-usapan natin yung mga nagtatago ng mga isda na yan. Alright, and that wraps up today's episode of News and Views.
Join us again on Monday. I'm Angela Lagunsan Castro.
And I'm Angelo Castro III. Kapatid, we are One News.
All sides, all the time.